Well, good day, my friends. Today we are in Memphis, Tennessee, and as you can see, we are on Beale Street, home of the blues. And I got a friend with me today. You might recognize the spa guy.
Hey guys, how are y'all?
We're gonna work our way down Beale Street today and have some food at BB King's. And we haven't hung out in a while, so we thought we'd make a video and show you guys Beale Street. So
Sounds cool.
let's do it.
Let's do it.
Little things everywhere you look, like right here, Father of the Blues. They acknowledge tons of history. And over there is, I believe that's where the Memphis basketball team plays. Acknowledging the Chinese merchants on Beale Street. Oh, look at this old footwear sign. I love it. If you want to come and check this out yourself, one of the nice things is that they close off Beale Street so that you can wander around and look at it without worrying about cars hitting you. Oh, this is what I wanted to show you guys. No more foot trouble. And then there are little guitars all over the place when you come down here. And they're all usually dedicated to someone. So this one is dedicated to Johnny Cash. Smoking a cigarette, no less. The Daisy. Look at this. And of course, big drinking area down here. So you've got home of the People's Pineapple and the Memphis Redbirds. Redbirds, minor league baseball. There's your Grizzlies. Here we have a sign for Nat D. Williams. He was the first black radio announcer in Memphis. Began broadcasting for WDLA, co-founder of the Cotton Makers Jubilee, and is credited with giving Memphis celebration its name. So they have Rufus Thomas Way right over here, and this is a historical sign for Rufus Thomas. Born in 1917, Casey, Mississippi. Entertainer known worldwide, began his career in 1930s. The Rabbit Foot Minstrel Shows. He was the organizer and the master of ceremonies. The amateur shows in the 1940s and 50s at the Palace Theater, which stood at this site. Oh, look at that. Great performers including B.B. King and Bobby Blue Bland. And Spa Guy, you were mentioning something about Elvis.
Yeah, Rufus Thomas was the first man to play an Elvis record on a black radio station. And he spent a lot of time. In fact, Elvis was invited to an all-black award show, if you will, and you can find photos of Elvis and Rufus and B.B. King and all that kind of stuff on stage, and they were all friends. That's a fact.
Tin Roof Girls. This is called the Tin Roof.
It's called Docks or something now.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we were looking at this and I go, wait a minute, this used to be Jerry Lee Lewis's.
Yeah, I remember going to an Elvis thing with Strictly Elvis from England upstairs.
Yeah, this is now called Docks. I guess they quit licensing his name.
So, Club Handy in the Elvis film is depicted that B.B. King is upstairs. You remember that?
Yeah.
And Elvis goes, didn't he go through the window or something? There was something about a window. I remember that. But Club Handy, the real Club Handy, is on the second floor right here. Although you see the name on the other side of the street on that building over there. This right here was the door, the entrance to the real Club Handy. It would have been right here on the second floor. So that was
awesome.
the entrance. But what you see of Elvis in the movie Elvis is absolutely not even close to factual. Although this was Club Handy and B.B. King was there, Elvis didn't ever go up there. This was a section that white people didn't come to. That's the reality of it during that time period. Unless you had a friend and kind of a sponsor is what they would even say. You could come in here, but as a general rule, you didn't.
Yeah.
White people didn't come down here, especially at night.
Check out this mural. I love it.
Is a place where if you've ever watched any of the Memphis Mafia reunions and that kind of stuff, they would usually be filmed in Alfred's.
Oh, right here.
Yeah, in fact, the guy that owns Alfred's, they got DJ Fontana right here, Carl Perkins. Jerry
Yeah, these are all over the sidewalk. We haven't been showing you, but right here outside this club's Carl Perkins, DJ Fontana, Jerry Schilling, and of course Elvis.
The guy that owns this, and there's George Klein to the left. So George Klein would host the Elvis Memphis Mafia reunions here at Alfred's Old Beale. There's a stage in there, and if you go back and watch any of the old Memphis Mafia reunions, they were filmed here. All of them were on that stage in there.
Oh yeah, look at that stage. It says Stax. That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah, and that's the real Stax sign on the original.
No kidding.
Real deal.
I didn't know that. Oh, I'm glad we came in then. Look what else they have in here. That's awesome. Here we have a sign for Danny Thomas, who was Elvis's neighbor, actually in Beverly Hills. And the story that I always heard was that, you know, Danny Thomas and Elvis used to talk about donating to charity. And when Danny Thomas was really down on his luck, he prayed to St. Jude for help. And when it happened and his daughter survived and everything, she was born, almost not born, but Danny Thomas ended up doing St. Jude, starting St. Jude. So thanks to entertainer Danny Thomas, who founded St. Jude Children's Research Hospital in Memphis. This road bears the name Beale Street. Created as an avenue in 1841, locals began calling it Beale Street after the African-American blues legend W.C. Handy, who wrote Beale Street Blues in 1917. By 1955, Memphis had changed the names of east-west streets to avenues. Unhappy with the decision, Thomas recorded a song, Bring Back Our Beale Street, as an appeal to Mayor Frank Toby to keep the street's name, Memphis Don't Own Beale Street. Read one lyric, it belongs to the world.
So the story I was going to tell you about Danny Thomas is, you mentioned it, Danny lived on Hillcrest. Elvis had a house on Hillcrest. Danny built his house at the end of Hillcrest on the cul-de-sac.
Yeah.
Now that house was 30,000 square feet. I flew the drone over it because I knew it was going to be torn down. So I never got inside, but I have an aerial of it before it got torn down and they built a new one. But Elvis got mad because when he built the house, it blocked his view. But there's a story that Elvis was standing out at the gates of Hillcrest with a bunch of girls. The tour bus pulls up and they ask, where does Danny Thomas live? And he said, well, right down there at the end of the cul-de-sac. So they drove down and pulled up with the bus. They all jumped out and took pictures. They jumped in the bus and came back up, rolled the window down and said, has anybody ever told you look a lot like Elvis Presley? He said, I get that all the time. And they said, well, thank you. And they drove on.
So here's the statue of W.C. Handy. Very influential. William Christopher Handy. Bill, you were saying, where was he? What does he have in common?
W.C. Handy was born in the same town that Sam Phillips was born in Florence, Alabama. And I've been to, they have a birthplace there that you can go. This is kind of like a log cabin. It's a really nice museum. And that particular town is right outside of Muscle Shoals.
Yeah.
Where
two great recording studios.
Yeah, I mean,
Fame.
Muscle Shoals Sound and Fame.
Yeah.
And the area that, in fact, there in Florence, before you go over the bridge where the Taco Bell is, there used to be a hotel there. And that's where the Rolling Stones stayed when they recorded at
no
Muscle Shoals
kidding,
Sound.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
This is Selecto Hits, which his family started after Sun. And when my CD came out for my band, guess who the distributor was? Selecto Hits. Here you can see the Home of the Blues, Beale Street gifts. I always like all the neon signs, and this place is really famous over here. O'Sullivan's, really famous for the food and drinks. And there's Silky's over here, the oyster bar. This is BB King Boulevard right here, and that is the Rum Boogie. Last time I was here, they had a ton of stuff on display, like guitars and things like that.
BB King is third, used to be third. And if you go that way, you go to Lauderdale Courts. Elvis lived on BB King, which would be third on Lauderdale.
That's awesome.
So if you go that way, maybe 12 blocks, that's where the Lauderdale apartment was.
The people that run that are so cool. They were nice enough to let me in there. I think you went in there as well, didn't you?
I stayed there the whole weekend.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Got to talk a little bit more than usual because of all the music that they play as we're walking around, but I wanted to give you the vibe of the Beale Street as much as we could. And that's the Rum Boogie. So we came inside the Rum Boogie because they have guitars all over the place, but I wanted to show you something special in the very back. That guitar actually right there, signed by Stevie Ray Vaughan. But look at what they have back here, other than a ton of guitars signed by famous people. You want to talk about somebody who is Memphis inside and out? Right there, man. Isaac Hayes. Isaac Hayes was a songwriter originally. Stax. Look at that, how awesome. He used to wear stuff like that all the time. Says, wore this when he accepted the award. That's what this gold plaque down here says. He wore this when he accepted the award for the theme from Shaft. He was the first African American to win an Oscar for the best original song in a soundtrack. And I'll never forget when he was nominated, he took his mom to the awards, and his mom was just awestruck by everybody. She kept pointing at all of them and saying their character name on TV, going, "Oh, look at that, that's so-and-so. Look at that over there, that's so-and-so." Billy's checking out. These are all checks that are made out by Stax, probably to Isaac Hayes.
Bailey Hemphill, Vernon Taylor. I think they may be players.
Oh yeah, probably so.
Eli Fountain.
The whole wall is signed by people too, like fans. There's Sam and Dave with Carla Thomas. Yeah, so this is a memorial to Stax. And there's Rufus Thomas, we were talking about earlier. And that is Scotty Moore's guitar, Elvis guitar player, and that guitar is signed by Rufus Thomas. Hey, Jack Daniels. Over there's the Blues Hall juke joint. Look at this. Look at all the faces on the glass up there. It says Beale Street, Levy, Pee Wee's Saloon, Crossroads, Handy Park. There's the tap room over here. Somewhere over here they used to, I don't know if it's still here. Y'all, it is Jerry Lawler's Hall of Fame barbecue. This part of Beale Street, they apparently are having like a Jeep show or something. I don't know, they're everywhere. Here's a sign for Hooks Brothers Photography. Established by Henry A. Hooks Sr. and his brother Robert. Photography studio was the second oldest continuous operating black business in Memphis. Located during its early years at 164 Beale Street. Next moved to Linden Avenue and finally Macklemore Avenue, where it ceased operation after a fire in 1979. Bummer. This over here says King's Palace Cafe, and they have a tribute to the old mayor of Beale Street. An honorary title up here. You can see it says King's Palace Cafe, home of Rudy Williams, Mayor Ambassador, Beale Street. There's Jerry Lawler's. For some reason I thought I read that it closed, but it looks like the signs and everything are still here, so I don't know. We'll see. Maybe it is closed. Yeah, it looks like maybe it did close down. Oh, bummer. course, when we met Jerry Lawler, he told us that he had talked to Elvis about doing a exhibition wrestling match. And I said, who was going to win that? And he started laughing. He goes, come on. Who do you think was going to win that? You think Elvis is going to lose? So he signed a crown for me and said I was going to wrestle Elvis. I love all the cool colors and designs of the buildings around here. Oh, there you can get fried green tomatoes. Great food down here. That's what we came for, actually. Came at a bad time where the sun has really given us some problems, but we're going to be heading over here to BB King's right there on the corner. Usually have live music too. That's one of my favorite things about it. Blue City Bandbox. Also, the Blue City Cafe here on the corner has really great food. They usually have a line of people waiting to get in. Look at that neon. I love it. Over there you can see BB King's company store. Last time I was here, this was a Hard Rock Cafe. It doesn't look like it's the Hard Rock anymore. But this was the original Lansky Brothers that Elvis would have bought his stuff at, right, Billy?
That's right. That would be the front of Lansky's. Where that vehicle is parked would be the front doors.
Oh, right. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Lansky Brothers was founded in 1946 by Bernard and Guy Lansky with a $125 investment from their father. S.L. Lansky. The store began on 126 Beale Street as an Army surplus store, gradually changed to accommodate customers interested in one-of-a-kind look. At the time, Beale Street was the center of the African-American social and music scene in Memphis. Bernard traveled tree looking for unique products, sometimes outrageous, always years ahead of anything else in town. That's awesome. Things were made of bright, vividly colored and silky fabric. Lansky Brothers quickly became the fashion headquarters to musicians and the clothes savvy, including B.B. King, Isaac Hayes, David Porter, Carl Perkins, Johnny Cash, Jerry Lee Lewis, and Rufus Thomas. And you can't forget Elvis. So we're gonna go over and take a look actually at the Elvis statue, and then we'll come back over here and get a table to eat.
So you see right here in this photo, it says Blue Light Studio. That is a sign, and it was on the corner of the building right there. You can actually see where it was mounted. You see the square things?
Oh, yeah, yeah, right up here.
It was mounted right there. So that's Elvis and Dewey walking up this street.
Let me see.
Where that pole is right there would be exactly opposite of this pole. So looking at this, that pole would have been right here. And you also see Bernard Lansky in the photo right there, standing in the doorway. The guy that we've been talking about, Lansky.
Oh, yeah.
Talking about. Bernard is standing in the doorway right here. The pole is there. Elvis and Dewey are right here, walking that way.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's that photo right there.
You wouldn't even know that was the front doors right there.
Yeah, that's the front doors of Lansky.
That's awesome.
Elvis has a statue right there, as you can see. Just over there, we'll walk over there, is where Elvis got the ticket. He went there to get his hair cut. And there's photos of him with the police officer, and I'm not sure they really gave him a ticket. He's kind of messing with the cop. I'll show you the photo. We'll go over there and I'll show you where that photo happened.
Okay.
So when he was going in the Army, 1958, the recruiting bus actually went, there was a giant building right there, and the recruiting bus, there's photos of him pulling up and getting off the bus and going in a building. That happened right there. On the corner was where he met Louise Smith and eventually married Gene Smith, his cousin. That was a place called, I think it was called Federal Clothing. And the idea was is you could go in there and buy clothes on time. So you had time to pay them off. And Lansky's was kind of the same thing. If you go back to all the old photos around here, up and down here and up and down that direction was a lot of these places you could buy clothes, and you could pay them a weekly payment, that kind of stuff.
Huh. It's interesting.
Yep.
Kind of shocked by that.
Yep. That was common back at that time. And Louise worked at Federal Clothing. That's how she met Elvis and Gene and ended up marrying Gene. She passed away about 6 months after I interviewed her, sadly.
There it is. There's the statue of Elvis. That is awesome. I love coming to see that.
Yes, sir.
Looks great. Can you imagine a statue, like Billy said, like right across from where you used to buy clothes over here? It's amazing. And as we're walking over, you can see the other end of Beale Street has a big archway, kind of like the first one we saw, where the first one said Beale Street. This one says Home of the Blues.
So Louise would have worked right here on the corner. If you'd have gone down about 4 doors, that's where the Army recruiting station was.
Oh, okay.
Where that car just turned right there, that was not a road. That actually was York Arms was right there, and there's a couple of ties. There's photos of Elvis standing in front of York Arms and looking in the front window. But that's the place that James Earl Ray bought a pair of binoculars on the day that Martin Luther King was assassinated. The exact same place. Just beyond that was where Elvis worked at the theater as an usher. So Lowe's was basically where that Bassberry Sims building is right now.
Wow.
The Lowe's Theater. Yeah.
That's the building he's talking about right there. That's where it would have been.
So right down there, you see the Hotel Chisca right on the corner.
Oh, yeah.
That's where the very first Elvis record was played. That was Dewey Phillips. On the mezzanine, he called it the magazine level, was WHPQ Red Hot and Blue, the hotel on your left right there.
Oh, for some reason I thought it was at Peabody.
No, it was Hotel Chisca.
Wow.
Second floor.
Learned something new today.
Yep, that was WHPQ was right there.
And that where he locked himself in there and kept playing it over
That's
and
right.
over and over?
He played it like 12 times in a row. And then Elvis came and did an interview, and he was telling him that, we're going to do an interview. At the end of it, he said, okay, well, I'm ready for my interview. He said, well, we just finished. So Elvis had no idea he was being interviewed. He was
awesome.
that new to it. So these photos, I'll walk over there and I'll show you where they happened at. So this building right here was where Elvis would come get his haircut at. And on the day that he was here in 1956, he parked right out here, about where this driveway is at right here. So if we come over here and look back, you'll be able to see behind you. Back then, it was not the Orpheum, it was the Malco.
Ah. So that photo would have been showing it just like that. You said he would have been parked right about there?
Right here, so if you look at the front of the car from here, you'll see the top of the building. So you see the top of the building right there, the edge of it, and then you look up there and see the edge of the building. See, it's at an angle. It even looks exactly like it did back then.
Yeah.
And it was the Malco back then, and that's what he was here to do, is get his haircut. And that's another photo of him just talking to the cop. But he was parked right about here. Now that car right there eventually turned purple. That's that Eldorado that's at Graceland is purple now. Elvis and Barbara Hearn, in fact, it was the night that Elvis was on the Wink Martindale show, the dance party show. You've seen the video of Elvis leaning against he's leaning against the jukebox. You remember that photo?
Yeah.
In the video, they stopped at the Chisca and they walked down this sidewalk. And this, you remember me talking about credit clothing right there?
Yeah.
It would have been right directly across the street from where we're at. That's them walking on that side of the street going that way. Now,
that's awesome.
What's crazy is when they get down there, they go into a place to eat, and there's a girl in there that Elvis is kind of picking on, and it's called the Gridiron Restaurant, and there was gridirons everywhere. There's still some around town. So Elvis went in there and he's kind of picking on the girl. She ordered a sandwich and some milk. He ate part of her sandwich, drank her milk. She sued him for $5,000 and he paid her. And there's photos of him with the girl that ended up in a magazine, and she ended up getting attacked by Elvis fans and had to leave town and lost her job as a telephone operator because she had sued Elvis, and people found out.
No such thing as easy money, is there,
right.
Billy?
That's right.
So now we're gonna go grab some food. I want to come by over here because I love the mural over here. Not just this one, but I love this one over here. Now we're going to BB's. We teased you with it a little bit, but now we're actually going to go in.
We're going to do this thing the way we do it. Is that all right? Is that all right? I hate the worst reputation in town for chasing out.
Our food has been delivered. Billy, what did you get?
I got a blues burger.
A blues burger. All right.
Cheese on it.
Nice blue cheese
You gotta
burger.
wear your sunglasses while you eat it.
Yeah, it is a blues bar. For me, I always get the King's meatloaf. BB King's meatloaf. I'm not even joking about that meatloaf. That stuff is amazing. First bite. Yeah, you gotta get the meatloaf. Well, our food was amazing. We're going to be leaving BB King's now. People having fun on Beale Street. So now we're going to go ahead and walk on down Beale Street in the evening because all the lights are on. We were lucky enough to hang out long enough to where we can see some of the neon lights. It's starting to get that party atmosphere. Jerry Lawler's sign is on. Maybe it is open. Or at least they're keeping the sign on when it's not open. Sounds like there's some live music over there. We just saw BB King All-Stars. Who do you need to see after you saw that? One thing I haven't seen in Memphis though, and Billy's gonna take me over to see it, the band shell. The Rum Boogie sign down there on the corner is great. Carriage ride, anyone? Alfred's is pretty lit up now over there.
See, they've got that outdoor thing up top.
Yeah.
And during the day in the patio bar, you can usually get on they'll have a tour bus.
Oh, nice.
Patio bar.
We're gonna have to check out this Jeep over here. I love it. Look at that. No, that's not a Jeep.
That's a Bronco.
Yeah, I would say that's not a Jeep. Wet Willie's over here on the corner. And this is Club Handy.
But remember, the real one was there.
Yeah, that's the new one. The one we showed you earlier was right over here, right upstairs. But as you can tell from our walk back, pretty much all these places in the evening have live music. And this was at one time the Jerry Lee Lewis. Playing some Prince. Oh, look at this. I don't think I noticed this one earlier. The theater looking good at night. So as we're walking back to the car, we saw this actually, and that is the W.C. Handy house, father of the blues. It says in this house was born Memphis blues, St. Louis blues, Beale Street blues, and other great songs. Well, talk about a place I've wanted to see and have never got to. We're there. Now it's called the Overton Park Shell, but it was originally, Billy, what was it called?
It was called the Levitt Park Shell. There's a sign right here that actually says Levitt Park Shell.
Yep.
That's
The
back
Levitt
in the
era.
day. Yep.
And of course, what happened here, Billy?
Well, Elvis's first paid gig was right here. Now, back in those days, there was actually seating all the way up the grassy area that you see to your right.
Yeah.
And Elvis came out and played. They said he stood to the left side of the stage. And we filmed inside of this thing with the guys, very nice, and allowed us to go in and go down in the dressing rooms and all that.
Oh, nice.
And there's photos of Elvis here inside the back part of the shell. But when you get up here, they said that Elvis did not stand center stage. He stood a little bit to the left. So he would have been over in this area back then. And other people that played here, of course, Johnny Cash. There's photos of Elvis at a Carl Perkins concert here where he came to see Carl. And there's all kinds of people that played here at the shell.
Man, this is cool.
And it's still in use today.
I'm
They still
backing
have
up
concerts here.
so you guys can get the full scope if you were here watching Elvis perform, or Johnny. That's awesome. Hope you guys enjoyed our tour of Beale Street and a little more. From Memphis, Tennessee, Elvis's Memphis, Tennessee. Have a great night and goodbye.